Before we start, I just wanted to say, phones, please remain silent. You can use them, you can take pictures, but don't make sure the ringtone and all that is lowered. No booing, respect the candidates and respect their followers, and no cursing. And, well, we might begin right now. So, we have, in the first ticket, we have Director Jacqueline LeBain running for president, and Vice President Kyle McDonald. And in the second ticket, we have running for president Abdel El Tawil and Vice President Christopher Acosta. I'll give you 2 minutes to introduce yourselves. We may begin with candidate Abdel El Tawil.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Hello, my name is Abdel El Tawil. Some of you may know me as your next student body president. So before I get into what I want to accomplish as president, let me get into who I am. So I was born in Egypt. I moved to Chicago when I was about 4 years old, and I grew up there. I went to school there up until my first year of college. And then at my first year of college, I went to community college for pre-engineering in Chicago. And while I was there, I worked as a sales consultant in a very high-pressure environment. In my first year, well, I only worked there for a year, but in my first year, I had over $2 million worth of sales. But the thing is, during that year, my dad moved to Florida for work, so our family was split apart. He'd fly back every weekend. It was still hard on the family as a whole. So we all decided to come to Florida together because to us, family is the most important thing. And that's what we are here at FAU, we're a family. So when I moved here my first semester, I wanted to get more involved because when I was back in Chicago, everything I was doing, it was either school or work. I had virtually no social life at that point. So my first weekend, I came in and I wanted to get involved, so I joined the men's soccer club. And the first month in, actually, I became president somehow of the organization. So when I became president, I was literally the only officer for the first year, and everything was sort of dropped on me, so I had to pretty much start from scratch. But the reason I stuck with it, even though it got hard at times, is because not only because of my passion for sport, but it was because of my passion for my teammates and my players as well. They were pretty much my family again. So, and that's kind of what I want us to feel as a student body as a whole, as a united family.
All right. Now, for President, Director Jacqueline LeBain, you have 2 minutes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jacqueline LeBain, and I am here in front of you today running to be your next student body president. I am currently a junior here at FAU, majoring in political science and minoring in criminal justice. I'm a sister of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the director of COSO, as well as political action chair for NAACP, and an active member in numerous student organizations such as Owls for Israel, BSU, and Women Empowerment Club. My experience at FAU has been a little different from most. I transferred here from California my sophomore year, and I'm currently a commuter student. My first year at FAU, I wasn't really involved, and I didn't know which direction in my life I wanted to take. I decided to get involved with NAACP, and my drive exploded. I shortly got involved with student government after, and it was one of the best decisions I had made in my college career. I began to get more involved while taking into account the struggles that many of our fellow owls face every day. Coming from a family who couldn't afford to send me to college, I understand the many issues that our campus community faces with the rises in tuition. Our dream is to make Florida Atlantic University home for all of its students, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, religion, etc. Our goals for the 2018-2019 academic year are to bridge the gap between Greek life, athletics, registered student organizations, and affiliated students by making FAU a more diversified and open campus. Promoting civic engagement among each of the campuses by increasing our students' activism and fighting for what our students deserve, as well as making FAU a proud contributor of the It's On Us campaign. Thirdly, we would like to increase transparency among all of the campuses in order to make one FAU. Overall, I am here today before you to do everything in my power to make FAU a better, safer, and more involved campus community, because at the end of the day, we're all owls and we're all here together. Thank you.
and running for vice president in the President Altawil's vice president, Christopher Acosta.
First of all, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Christopher Acosta. I'm currently senior here and majoring in finance. That's right, thank you. I used to be homeschooled from grade 1 to 12. I transferred to Palm Beach State for 2 years, and then I also came here right after that. My parents come from diverse lands. My father's from Colombia, and my mother's from Finland. I'm also here just to assist Abdel and to serve you guys here as a community. Thank you.
Running mate of Jacqueline Levain and running for vice president re-election, Vice President Kyle McDonald.
Hello everyone, my name is Kyle McDonald. First off, I want to thank the Elections Board and everyone involved in student government who helped put this event on. It's a really good turnout. Jacqueline touched a little bit on some of the platform points, and we'll go more into it, but just a little bit about me. My name is Kyle McDonald. I'm a junior studying economics with a concentration in business economics and a minor in political science. I'm a member of Sigma Phi Epsilon fraternity. I have served in student government since I was a freshman. My freshman year, I joined the House of Representatives and was the campus budget chairman for the Boca Raton campus. And then the following year, I served under student body president Michael Kyle as student body treasurer. And then most recently, I now serve as student body vice president in student government. But I'm really excited to be sitting here running for re-election with Jacqueline Levain. We want to build on the progress that we've gotten so far, and we want to keep building on that for the student body. Thank you.
All right, now we're going to enter into the first round of questions. These questions are going to be the ticket questions, so that means that you're going to have to answer it as a team. So the first question is going to be directed to running for president Jacqueline Levain, and she will have 3 minutes to answer. The question is, what changes would you bring if your ticket is elected? You have 3 minutes again.
Thank you. If we were elected to represent the FAU student body as your next student government president and vice president, the main changes we would want to see implemented would be making FAU a more diversified and open campus, meaning we would want to implement programming to bridge the gap between Greek life, registered student organizations, athletics, and non-affiliated students. Promoting more civic engagement, meaning increasing the support for our student activism and fighting for what our students' top concerns are, while participating in programs like the It's On Us campaign in order to combat sexual assault on college campuses. Increasing transparency among all campuses by making FAU one FAU. Lastly, improving the overall FAU experience. We want every student to feel important at this university and that their elected officials are truly fighting for most of what they want, but everything that they need in order to be successful. Thank you.
You could follow up, Mr. Vice President Kyle McDonald.
I think she got it covered.
All right. Running for president Abdel Eltawil, you have 3 minutes.
Same question.
Same question, you want me to repeat it again?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So if my ticket was elected we were elected as president and vice president respectively, our main objective would be to ensure that all our underrepresented and underfunded organizations are better represented and better funded. So last year, well, I'll go 2 years back first. 2 years back, I was looking at the budget for the student government budget as a whole. Almost every year for the past few years, we started with $2 million, and we added about $8 to $9 million from A&S fees. And every year, so we have a total of $11 million spent. Every year we end up, after all our costs, we end up with about $2 million left over. So last year we started with the same numbers, $2 million to begin with, plus the 8 or 9 from the A&S fees that we all pay through tuition, and we ended up with $5 million left over. So I'm not sure why either we had less spending or we had another stream of revenue, but either way, that means there's a lot more money that we could invest in our organizations that need it. For example, our sports club council, there's currently over 900 members and 23 organizations. And for the sports club council as a whole, they received $53,000 in funding. Right here, I have the budget for the rugby team. If you look at that alone, it's about their operating budget is about $11,000 for hockey. Their dues are in the thousands of dollars per player. And then if you look at rugby, hockey, and lacrosse alone, you pretty much cover the $53,000 that they need to operate. So one of my main goals is to make sure that our allocations better spread out to where it's needed. That's all I have.
The proper appropriation of the funds.
All right. That's it? All right, moving into the second question. We're still in the first round. How could you ensure you accurately represent the student body's concern across all 6 campuses? We're going to begin with candidate Abdel El-Tawil.
So in order to ensure that I represent the student body's concern across all 6 campuses, I plan on having an open door policy. So it goes both ways. So if I have concerns, I could represent my concerns to each campus, and if anyone on any of the other campuses has concerns, they can come to me at any time and let me know what's going on. So one of the main things I want to do is I want to set up I want to have bi-weekly checkups on each campus to see what's going on, and I also want to delegate or have a delegate at each campus that implements anything new we're doing at school. Also, because I know it's hard for some people to come all the way to Boca Raton because we have over 6 campuses. We have 6, no, I have over 6. We have 6 campuses, and I want to make sure that their voice is heard as well. So if it's possible, I would like to set up like an online suggestion box for each and every person to voice their concerns. So it's not only for student government at each campus, it's for any student who has any concerns.
Mr. Acosta, would you like to add on to that?
No, sir.
All right. Candidate Jacqueline LeBain, you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
All right. Knowing that we have 6 campuses, how would you ensure you accurately represent the students' body concern on all 6 campuses?
Thank you. As your next student body president, I believe I will accurately represent the student body's concerns across all campuses by increasing the transparency and information that each campus receives. I plan to implement bi-weekly updates to the respective governors for each campus in order to get the adequate and most up-to-date information from the respective campuses, as well as going to each of the campuses monthly in order to better understand the needs and wants from each campus.
Would you like to add on to that, Mr. Vice President? The last question of the first round, and we're going to begin with Director LeBain. How do you want your ticket's term to be remembered by FAU students? You have 3 minutes here.
Thank you. Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yes. How would you want your ticket's term to be remembered by the students of FAU?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I would want our ticket to be remembered by the students that we really tried to make a change on our campus in order. One second, sorry. I would want our ticket remembered on campus by the amount of work that we put into the schools on each 6 campuses, as well as making each student feel welcomed and represented equally on each of the 6 campuses, as well as increasing transparency among those 6 campuses, so we as one can make one FAU. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President, would you like to add on it?
Yeah, sure, I'll add some stuff. So I think that something that I really care about is just making sure that students feel as though their voice can be heard, and that's like a really common kind of like buzz term, say your voice is heard, but I think that really means is just kind of being a friend to students. So I know, like at some other universities even, it's very political, and they try to delve into a lot of drama and stuff, and I personally try to keep it as simple as possible. I mean, I hardly wear a student tie, as people who know that work in student government. But I just like to be able to talk to students, whether that's like an open door policy, as they stated, is a great idea. So just being able to talk to students, and I try to do that already, but just being a friend to students and making sure that they have that ally. Because when facing issues with, whether it be like stuff with tuition or any kind of university initiative, it's really important that you have that student ally, and that's why we have things like a student spot on the Board of Trustees. That's so that students can advocate. So I think it's really important that we have that opportunity.
All right, we're done with the first round of questions. Now we're going to move into the presidential questions. So this round is a matchup between both candidates for president. You have a chance to rebuttal after the candidate answers the question. We have 4 questions, and we're going to begin. First with candidate Abdel El-Tawil. As a student member of the Board of Trustees, how would you best be able to represent the concerns and desires of the student body? You have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, so like I said before, in order for everyone's voice to be heard, I want to set up the open door policy. So if anyone has any concerns, any suggestions, any complaints, anything that they see isn't working out well with campus, they can come directly to me anytime. They don't have to go through a long process or any obstacles. They can just come straight to me, and whenever they tell me, whatever I see fit, or whatever works out, I'll take directly to the Board of Trustees. So also I'm involved in a lot of organizations and a few of the club councils, like Sports Club Council, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm also going to be at all of their monthly meetings, and I plan on getting involved into other organizations as well, in order for them to, even if they don't have time to come in to talk to me, I can go talk to them and see what's going on and see what they need help with. And then I'll make it my job to present their concerns to the Board of Trustees.
All right. Candidate LeBain, you have 3 minutes. You want me to repeat the question?
No, I got it. Thank
Okay.
you. As a student member of the Board of Trustees, I will best be able to represent the concerns and desires of the student body by first listening to the student population that I'll be representing. Then, taking into account of my prior knowledge with handling funds by being the COSA director and handling a budget of over $200,000, I can ensure that I will bring your concerns to the Board of Trustees. Lastly, coming from a family who couldn't afford to send me to college and sometimes couldn't put food on the table, I know the struggles with tuition prices. I've been there. I know how expensive college can be, and my #1 priority would be putting the students first in any decision regarding tuition or money, because I have been there too.
All right. Does any of the candidates want a rebuttal? All right. Moving into the second question. This one will be directed to candidate Abdel El-Tawil. Once elected, the student body president joins the Florida Student Association, a board of all student body presidents across the state of Florida. As part of that organization, how will you represent your ideas and FAU? You have 3 minutes, sir.
So in order to make sure that my voice is heard and to best represent FAU at the Florida Student Association, what I want to do first is, before I even present my ideas, I implement them here first. So I have facts to back up what I'm doing. So they could look back and see that this worked or this didn't work. So my ideas will be backed up. Also, I'll ensure that I speak on behalf of the student body as a whole, not just specific organizations or areas of study. So, like, another thing I wanted to add on is I don't plan on just representing organizations. I want to represent the achievements we have in all of our academic areas of studies, whether it's engineering, business, finance, any student accomplishments. I want to make sure that they're recognized by not just FAU, but by the state of Florida as a whole. And I want to do my best to make sure that FAU is like the school to be that other schools will look up to and base their ideas off of. Thank you.
Candidate LeBain, you want me to repeat the question, or you're...
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, ma'am. Once elected, the student body president joins the Florida Student Association, a board of all student body presidents across the state of Florida. As part of this organization, how will you represent your ideas and FAU as a whole?
Thank you. Once elected as the student government president and member of the Student the Florida Student Association, a board of all the student body presidents across the state. I would represent my ideas at FAU by making our voices heard. Some of you know me and some of you don't, but I am not the type of person to stand in a corner and let my voice not be heard. If it is my voice representing you, I will be loud and I will be fierce. I will bring all of your concerns into action when representing you all for the Florida Student Association. Thank you.
All right, do any of the candidates want to rebuttal? All right, moving into the third question of the second round. One of the duties assigned to the president is to chair the Board of Governors, made up of 3 governors, the Boca campus, the Broward campus, and the Jupiter campus. What kind of guidance and assistance would you offer these governors? Madam Jacqueline Levine, you may begin.
Thank you. The guidance and assistance I would offer to the respective governors would be respect and clear communication across all campuses. Working with the Boca Raton governor now as the director of COSO, I see how important communication is between the president, the vice president, and the governors, and how you can have a great student government system with clear and concise communication. I plan to have bi-weekly meetings with each of the campus governors in order to truly hear their concerns and work with them in order to increase campus transparency as well as student-to-student government transparency.
All right. Candidate Elto, do you want me to repeat the question, or are you fine?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, you have 3 minutes, sir.
So, as chair of Board of Governors, I'd make it my job to know not only what's going on each campus, but I want to help them with anything they need help with. So, like I said before, with the open door policy, it doesn't only apply to students. If any time they want to come in and ask for advice, I'll be there for them. Also, like Jacqueline said, I'd want to also have bi-weekly meetings with each of the governors to see what's going on and for them to voice their concerns. And then another thing I'd advise them to do is it's not only for them, but for our organizations as a whole, is to branch out each organization, because I know a lot of people on the other campuses who want to join organizations, but they can't make the drive every day to come to Boca, because most of our clubs are here. So, like for the soccer club, for example, I want to have a branch on each campus, and we can come together once a week for games, and they practice together over there. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Do any of the candidates want to rebuttal? All right. Moving to the last question of the second round. This is a 1-minute question, short, simple, asked by the audience. How do you plan to balance your duties as a student and as a leader? Madam Levine, you may begin.
Thank you to whoever asked that question. The way I plan to handle my duties as a leader as well as a student is time management. And being in the organizations that I have been in now and being the director of COSO as a leader, time management is probably the most important thing that I have learned throughout my college experience, because I believe you can do anything as long as you have enough time in the day. Thanks.
All right. And that question goes to you as well. Do you want me to repeat it, or you're fine?
Good.
Okay.
So like Jacqueline said, time management is key, because I'm currently in engineering, and that takes up a lot of my time. And when I was in Chicago, I was working 50 hours a week, plus I was in engineering. So one of the issues I had my first semester, my grades started dropping, because it was my first time going to college as well, so I wasn't used to the way classes went. So one of the things I would do is I made sure school always came first. So over here, same thing with leadership. As president of the men's soccer club at FAU, it takes up a lot of my time as well. So the one thing I do in order to make sure that I have time to do both of them is I finish my studies as soon as possible, which gives me free time to consult on any concerns or anything extra anyone else has.
All right. Good. So we're done with the presidential questions. We'll get back to you if the audience has any questions later on, all right? Now we're moving to the third round, which is the vice presidential matchup. Ready? In this round, you have chances to rebuttal any question. So you will have 3 minutes to answer each question. And we will start by Vice President Kamadam. The question is, as chair of the UBAC, which is the University Budget Appropriations Committee, how would you manage the distribution of the activity and service fees? You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. So I currently serve as the chair of the University-wide Budget and Allocation Committee. So I think the biggest thing when appropriating funds, especially for student government, is what's the biggest student impact? So what's going to have the biggest benefit to students? And it comes down to really hard decisions because a lot of the times the requests that we get in terms of funding far exceed what we actually have in terms of money. So I think it's really important to weigh the student benefit. Like for example, student government funds the Campus Rec Center. And I think that's one of the most important things we do because the FAU Campus Rec Center has more unique visitors than any other building on this campus, referring to the Boca Campus Rec. So I believe it's over 15,000, don't quote me on that, students unique visitors go to the Campus Rec. So things like that provide a huge student benefit. So that's you can see that through numbers. So I think priority items that students see the impact of are where we should focus our efforts because the things that benefit the student body are going to benefit the university in the long run.
All right. Mr. Acosta, you have a repeated question or are you fine with it?
I think I'm fine.
Okay.
Well, my main goal, it would be to continue to distribute the funds accordingly to what benefits all of us as a student body. You know, like if I'm selected as vice president, I would continue the role and continue the role as like vice and chair and do the best of my abilities to continue to do the job. Thank you.
All right. Now this is a question under that same question. And I'll start with candidate Acosta. What makes you qualified to be the chair of the UBAC?
Thank you. I believe that my major in finance gives me a bit of a grasp towards this because like it gives me the ability to analyze and understand financial reports. In this case, would be the budget of UBAC. I also assist my father in his contracting company. He's a certified contractor, and I help him with his income statements and balance sheets by using QuickBooks. On top of that, another thing that makes me qualified is being able to lead and come to an accord with my peers. Currently, I'm a musician at my church, and I'm in charge of like selecting song lists for services and selecting musicians. And sometimes people don't like that they're not placed at a certain service time, and I have to come to an accord with them and see what's best fits for everyone. Thank you.
Great. Mr. McDonald, what qualifies you to be the UBAC chair?
Yeah, so like I kind of stated earlier, my freshman year, I served as the campus budget chairman for the Boca Raton campus. So in that role, I advocated for the Boca Raton campus on the university-wide budget committee. And then my sophomore year, I served as student body treasurer. So that was like my year-long job was just overseeing the funds of student government. And I now currently serve as the chair of the university-wide budget committee. So in total, I've had, this will be my 3rd year on the committee. So I think that offers a lot of insight because I've seen the budget go up and down and see those decisions where you have to make tough cuts or where you have to kind of see where the student benefit lies. And so I think I have a lot of experience in that area.
Any candidates want to rebuttal? All right. Going to the next question. Knowing that the vice president, when elected, becomes the Senate president, we would like to know how would you work with the Senate to improve FAU, and how would you work in general with the senators? Mr. Acosta, you have 3 minutes.
Recently knowing this, I see that the Senate, the primary responsibilities are to oversee the university-wide statutes, the presidential appointment approvals, and as you guys know, the budget allocation process. I would work with the senators to focus on the goals and concerns from all the campus bases, and I would try to work with them, but with the interest of the student body as a whole. Thank you.
All right. Vice President Kamadam, you want me to repeat the question or you're fine?
No, I'm fine, thank you. So I think something that's really important is making sure that the legislators go out and talk to students. Because I think that's one issue that the Senate does have is that they're not always going out and talking to students because it's very easy to sit on a committee and make decisions based on how you feel about something. Oh, in my student experience, I think this is how it should be. But in actuality, especially on the Senate, so the Senate is composed of nine students. and there's over 30,000 students at FAU, so they're representing a huge mass of students. So I think it's really important that they go out and talk to students and see what their perspective is and represent that. And furthermore, I think empowering them to write legislation is really important as well, because that's really how action comes, is through writing that legislation and making those things happen.
Great. Does any candidate want to rebuttal? You're fine? All right. So the third round is done because I'm going to change a little bit the substance of the course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give more time to the audience for them to ask you direct questions. So I would like for one of the audience members to actually raise their hand and ask a question. All right. First of all, state your name and tell who is directed, or if it's directed to all of them.
My name is Andrew Evans. I have a question for all of the candidates. Why do you guys want to be the president?
Who wants to begin? All right. Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Thank you so much for your question. And the main reason I want to be president of student government here at FAU, because I really have a full-hearted drive to help people. I have been in situations throughout my life, money situations, and I really do believe that somebody can be anything that they want to be in life. And I believe education is a fundamental way to get where you want to be. And I want to help everybody achieve that goal. Well, at least everybody that I can. Thank you.
Mr. Abdel Altawil.
The reason I want to be student body president is to help represent represent all the organizations at FAU, because I know coming into Men's Soccer Club, I struggled in the beginning because I had no idea what to do. So, and I know there's a lot of organizations that do amazing things but have little access to funding or have little access to promoting their ideas or promoting the concepts. So my goal is to make sure that all clubs are well represented, and if someone wants to start a new club, it's not a hard process for them. And then, because I know right now it takes a year for a club to be established before they receive funding. So one of my other goals is to try to expedite that to maybe a semester where a club is already established. So my main goal is pretty much to help the student body as a whole, I guess.
All right, good. The candidates for president just answered, because it was not directed to vice presidents, right? Only presidents, right? Good. All right, there's another member of the audience here that wants to ask a question. Please state your name and who is directed to.
Yes, my name is Alex, and oh, stand up, sorry. My question is directed to, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, even though I heard Jacqueline, I think?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I've witnessed a lot of students who come from long distances and dorm here, and they're alone, and clubs really bring them together and make them feel like they have a family. Personally, I don't think I heard you say anything about clubs. So I'm trying to understand what, as a president, you're going to do for clubs, because that's what's interesting, because I know that we're trying to be a family here at FAU, and the clubs is one of the biggest parts of that.
All right, candidate Levine, you have 1 minute to answer that question.
Thank you for your question. And I wanted to keep away from talking about organizations, because being the director of COSO, I oversee over 350 organizations here at FAU on the Boca Raton campus. I'm also a member of over 11 clubs and organizations here at FAU, and I believe, as you do, clubs are a fundamental way to get students connected. But I feel like alongside of clubs, we need to also look at people who are non-affiliated with clubs, because they're important too. I just don't want our focus to be all about clubs. I want it to be about athletics, about Greek life, organizations, non-affiliated students, because sometimes their voices are underrepresented, and I really want to be the voice to every student on campus. Thank you.
Great. Someone else want to ask a question? All right, moving here. Please state your name and who is directed.
Hi, my name is Jabari May, and this question is directed to both of the president candidates. So, as somebody who is well-versed in the statutes, I believe that the president, it says that the president should give a report to the House of Representatives like once a month, basically, and it seemed like that isn't happening a lot recently. Would you change that in the reports? Would it be frequent? Would you make your face known to all the 3 campuses, House of Representatives, instead of just the governors?
Who wants to answer that question first?
Okay, so one of our major platform, or one part of our platform is, blanking on the word, I'm so sorry. Transparency, thank you. Is transparency among the campus, along with student and student government transparency. I really want to make it one of my top priorities for every part of student government to be in clear and concise communication with each other, because I believe communication can get lost sometimes. And as a president, I can assure you that I will be at the House meeting giving my report monthly and sometimes often if needed, as well as the governors and the respective campuses as well, because I feel like with communication and just understanding one another and giving reports, and basically each person will know what the other person is doing. I find that really important, and that's it.
All right. Candidate Abdel Eltawil, do you want me to ask a question again?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, state the question.
Sorry. So, like I said previously, the president should give a report to the House of Representatives, not just the governors alone, other parts of the government as well, and make it work as one cohesion of a unit. So, how will you be able to voice your reports to the House of Representatives, not here on this campus, but also on the Boca and Jupiter campuses as well? I mean, Broward campus as well.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, so like you said, communication is key. First of all, the House of Representatives on all the campuses they're the direct representatives of the student body on each campus. So you guys are probably the most important point of access I have to students other than the students themselves. So no government will work without checks and balances. At least our government won't work without checks and balances. So everything I do, I want you guys to be aware of, and everything you do, I also want to be aware of, just to make our community better as a whole. So, yeah.
All right, I'll be right back with you guys. Hold that thought. We have a gentleman right here that wants to ask a question. Please state your name and who's directed to.
Hello, my name is Joe. This question is directed towards Jacqueline. So throughout the debate, I feel like you've just been talking in circles and just doing the typical politician thing. And what's come off is basically your plan for the next year is you want to keep everything exactly the same. The other candidate doesn't seem to want to do that, but you want to keep it exactly the same. What do you really want to do in this next year?
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Thank you for your question, and thank you for your service as well. What I really want to do for this campus, like I said earlier, is bridge the gap between students, because I feel like there is a divide on campus between all the entities like Greek Life, student organizations, non-affiliated members, as well as athletics. And my main focus is to bridge that gap, because I feel like we are stronger together than alone. And in order to get our voices heard, I feel like we need to come together. I'm not one to just sit here and let things stay the same if something needs changing. I also want to implement programs monthly to where students can come voice their opinions to Kyle and myself directly, so that they know their voices are being heard and well represented, as well as, just bridging that gap between students. Thank you.
Great, I know the audience. Okay, perfect. Please state your name and who it is directed to, right?
Hi, my name is Jalen, and my question is for obviously both of the presidential candidates. And obviously in lieu of recent events throughout this week, mental health and, I guess you could say, for instance, mental health in regards to, students across the campus is a real thing, like I said, and obviously in lieu of the events that happened this week. And I know student government does stress less week. So I was just wondering what would be, I guess, you guys' direct approach in regards to the pulse of, your student body and how they're feeling as a whole.
Mr. Eltawil, would you like to answer our question?
Could I ask him a question first?
Go ahead.
First question. So do you mean like mental health as in coping with what happened, or?
I mean just... no, not in the sense of the specific event that happened this week. I'm just saying, as a whole, what would you guys' approach be toward, like I said, understanding, the pulse of, like I said, your student body and like I said, the mental health of, like I said, your students?
Should I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I would do, first and foremost, I want to hear your concerns, because I honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not aware of everyone's issues or the issues you guys face. So I want to find out what's wrong, and after I find out what's going on, I want to help you based off of that. And I know mental health is a huge issue in America as a whole, whether it's depression, anxiety, or whatever it may be. And I want to provide a safe environment for all our students on campus where they could feel safe and at home anytime.
Madam Levine?
Thank you for your question. And coming from a family who has mental health issues, my mom was diagnosed with bipolar when I was 12 years old, and she was diagnosed with depression when I was 15. Mental health is probably one of the most important aspects in my life, because I believe you cannot truly understand yourself until you look at yourself mentally. And mental health affects physical health, it affects physical health as well. So I believe bringing programming to implement mental health issues, partnering up with CAPS, the victim service centers that just opened up in the library, I feel like that's all really, really important, and it's needed on campus as well. And Kyle wanted to say something.
Do you mind if I answer that question as well?
Go ahead.
So something that me and Emily have worked really hard on, and I definitely want to continue that progress, is I agree, mental health is a huge issue, especially in our state university system. So something that myself and Emily, and more importantly our cabinet, really worked hard on was we just passed, got a resolution through the actual Florida state government to make a mental health awareness week, actually within the entire state university system. We just had Mary Ann on campus to talk about it. But something like that, for example, getting that awareness so that there's events programmed where students know that there's resources available for mental health. For example, we have free counseling at FAU, and a lot of students don't know about that, so making sure that students know that there's resources. And more importantly, removing that stigma so that students know that it's not necessarily like a bad thing to go see a therapist. Maybe, you know, people go through, you know, the most minor things, like you have a bad breakup or someone passes away, but just making sure that students have those resources even for the smaller issues.
Since Vice President McDonald answered, would you like to follow up, or you're fine?
No, I think everything was spoken.
Okay, good. Well, please state your name and who the questions are directed to.
All right, my name is Zane. I actually have 2 questions. So first I'll do it to the presidents. Well, this is for both of you. So what makes you think you would be a better presidential candidate than the other president?
Oof. Do you want to start? Go ahead.
I can't answer that question directly because I don't know how she would be as a president, but I could tell you what I would do to be as a president. I could tell you the best me I can be. So as president, I would ensure that every student is heard, like no matter what, because I know a lot of time, especially when I first got here, like Owl Central was set up, there were a lot of events set up, but to get to those events, it was hard to find out like how to join an organization, how to do this, how to do that. There's so many hoops you have to jump through in order to join a club or in order to sign up on Owl Central. So what I want to do is I want to make it clear, I want to give every student a clear, I guess, understanding of what's going on, like especially new students. I know we have freshman orientation and commuter orientation or transfer orientation. So what I want to do is, especially during those orientations, I just want to make sure that each student is fully aware of what's going on campus.
All right, candidate Lane, do you want the question to be repeated, or you're fine?
Yeah, can you repeat the question again, please?
I'll change it just because of the way that you answered it. What is the best president that you could be? What would you want?
The best president that I could be is one that listens fully to the students and represents them equally. I don't want to make any promises that I can't keep, but I can promise that you will give me 100% of my time and dedication to working to make FAU better, safer, and a more homey environment for the students, because I feel like that is the most important. Commuter students, transfer students, on-campus students, I feel like when you go to a university, you want to feel safe, you want to feel at home, you want to feel represented. And I feel like that is the most important aspect of one's college career, and especially if they want to get involved, I feel like they should have the power and the necessary tools in order to get involved with clubs, organizations, athletics, sports, anything that they want, and they should get adequate funding for that as well.
All right, any questions before you ask your second question? Yeah, any other questions? All right, I'll come back to that problem. All right, please state your name and who's directed to, right?
I'm Shane Isaacson. This question is for Abdel. You briefly just talked about orientation and making each student aware of what's going on campus. As an orientation leader myself, how do you plan on doing that?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So, I'm not exactly sure how the freshman orientation goes because I came here as a transfer student, but I know for the transfer orientation when I first got here, it was a one-day thing. We kind of rushed through everything. They gave us a tour around campus, and like for the first month, I still got lost because it takes more than a day to learn school. But what I want to do is I want to make sure at orientation that we set up enough time, not only because during the freshman orientation, the main thing they were talking about is how to, it was based off of your classes. It was how to like manage your classes, and they would show you like where each college was, like where the engineering building was, where this was, where that was, and they briefly went over how to join organizations on campus. So what I want to make sure everyone knows during orientation is I just want to make sure that they're aware of all the resources that are available to them.
All right, going into your second question, please state your name again and who it's directed to.
Okay, my name is still Zane, and that's been changed in the last 5 minutes. So my question this time is to the vice presidents, and that is, why did you choose to run with the presidents that you chose to run with?
Great question, Mr. McDonald.
Okay, thank you so much for your question. So I ran with Jacqueline for a number of reasons. So one of the reasons that I chose Jacqueline, or we came together rather, is that she is really in touch with the students. So as COSO director, she has the opportunity to meet with organizations all day. So she's meeting with, and like they express, is clubs are a huge part of our involvement here at FAU. So she on a daily basis has interactions with those students, interactions that I might not have. So she brings a perspective from different students in different areas that I think is really important. And then beyond that, I think she's really qualified in terms of holding her leadership positions that she's held on campus. I think she's going to have a good grasp on how to lead within student government and in the student body as well.
Mr. Acosta?
Thank you for your question again, Zane. I would have to say that one of the main reasons I chose to join Adele is that like I look to him as like a leader figure. Like the short time I've known him, I've got to see like his character and the way he acts and does things. It's just like a way to look up to. And like when he asked me to like go with him, I was actually surprised because I wouldn't think I'd be like one of the choices. But when he did, I was glad that he chose me. And then another thing is like I'm here to serve all of you guys, and just to do my best. Thank you.
Great. We have another question here by this young gentleman. Please state your name and your question, who it's directed to.
My name is Darius Perkins, and my question is directed towards Abdel. You spoke earlier about it being difficult to navigate how central to locate events and how difficult it is to join organizations. What are you going to implement to make that easier?
So the main thing I want to do is have updated information, like on Owl Central, for example. For our organization, we have a very hard time posting events. We have a very hard time making our events known. And even when we do, they're only seen by a few people. So what I want to do is on top of Owl Central, is I know we're already, for each organization, for each council, I know they're already making like Instagram pages for people to know upcoming events or know how to join the club. I just want to have a better approach for everyone to not only communicate the events that are coming, but also to communicate your organization. So, for example, for example, like even now as president of the soccer team, I get, I'd say at least 100 messages or requests a semester about people willing to join months after tryouts, because we have tryouts, over 100 people come, and months after tryouts I still have requests from people coming to join, and that's a problem on my part because I have a hard time communicating with them. So I want to set up a system in order to help ease the transition into college and ease our communication to the general student body.
All right. We have another question by this young lady. Please state your name and who it's directed to.
Hi, my name is Janessa Christopher, and it's directed to both presidential candidates. So, FAU being one of the most diverse universities here in Florida or in the country, I just want to know about a time that you adapted your style in order to work effectively with those who were different from you, or a time a person's cultural background affected your approach to work with the situation.
Ooh, good question. Who wants to answer that first? Okay, Madam Levain.
So, thank you so much for your question. And I would have to say, being from a European background and joining organizations such as NAACP, Black Student Union, Women Empowerment Club, and my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, as a historically African American sorority, people always love to say that, oh, I'm colorblind and I don't see color. And I really believe that you must cherish each individual's ethnicity and race, and you must respect it and learn about where they come from, and you should not judge someone by their skin color or their affiliation, and you should really judge them on their character and how they present themselves. Because so many times, especially in the news, we hear horrible things that are happening because of people's race, and I want FAU to feel as a safe place for anybody, regardless of their race, gender, ethnicity, and everything. Thank you.
Mr. Abdel.
Could you please repeat the question? Sorry.
So FAU being one of the most diverse universities here in Florida and the country, I just want to know about a time that you adapted your style in order to work effectively with those who are different from you, or a time when a person's cultural background affected your approach to work with the situation.
Is it clear or?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay.
So for me, I was born in Egypt, which is in Africa. And when I moved here, and I'm a Muslim as well. So when I moved here, it was hard to find people like me. So, and I moved here when I was 4, so I quickly had to adapt to the situation I was put in. If that makes sense. So, for example, Chris, he's a devout Christian, and he's one of my best friends. Here at FAU, I'm involved with a lot of student organizations, and like for our soccer team, for example, we have Colombians, we have Peruvians, we have Brazilians, we have Haitians, we have a guy from Amsterdam, we have me from Egypt, we have Chris from Finland, we have people of every race, color, or whatever. And another thing, like she said before, I hate when people say they're colorblind because your color, not your color, but your ethnicity, your background is a part of who you are. It makes you you, it makes you unique. Thank you.
Great, so we have one question here. Please state your name and who it's directed to.
Hi, my name is Syed Hussein, and I have a question about the environment related to anyone interested. So I've noticed around campus we've had a lot of algae blooms, green algae in the lakes, which is a very toxic substance. If you notice a weird smell by the Arts and Letters garage, that is the algae in the water. And it took the school around 6 months to kind of figure it out. And so I feel as though, since you advocate for the students, I felt as though I didn't have a voice of figuring out who can I tell this to someone. And so as you obviously would see this is happening, and as a student, and with the power that you will have, how would you be able to address these environmental concerns to the people who are in charge of these types of roles?
All right, who wants to answer that question? Mr. McDonald.
Yeah, so no, I think it's really interesting. I honestly had no idea. I don't know too much about algae blooms in particular, but I think that it's really important that students have the opportunity to come and just bring up stuff like that might seem kind of like, I don't want like random almost, you know what I mean? Things that aren't necessarily part of the regular student government agenda, but things that are important to different students. And I know that's something I focus on a lot, is just, you know, when someone brings something to me, like even like the smallest of issues, like things like for example, I know a grad student came a few weeks ago to the student government office and was having issues with his tuition reimbursement, just stuff like that, even smaller issues. A lot of students don't know that, you know, we have, as president, vice president, we have the ears of the FAU administration, like administration members that most students don't even get to talk to. So I think it's a really unique opportunity we're in, and I think it's important like for things like that we take advantage of that.
The question was a
We
little
definitely
long,
need to
so
know algebra.
can you please repeat it so he could just refresh his memory? Yeah, repeat it just so they can know.
I talked about the environment and how would you use your power as a president to address these concerns to the right administrators?
So the beauty of our campus is the diversity of our students. Like you said, you noticed the algae bloom. If you gave me 10 years and I walked past that lake every day, I would have never noticed that. So if you, like I said earlier, I don't know if you were here earlier, I said I wanted to have an open door policy. So if you have any concerns, because I only know so much, I can only know about so many issues. So if you have any concerns that I'm not aware of, or any concerns at all, bring them to me and we'll address them immediately. And like for the algae bloom, you said it was dangerous. Safety is one of our main priorities on campus. So if anything like that comes, you can come to me anytime and we'll address it as soon as possible.
We have one more question here.
My name is DeAndre, directed to the president candidates. How would you represent the graduate population here at FAU?
Who wants to answer that question first? Go ahead.
So I think one of the tools that a lot of students are lacking when they graduate is what to do after. And that was your question, right? Graduating students? Okay, just want to make sure. So one of the tools that a lot of students are lacking after they graduate is the not knowing. So what I plan to do is implement programming called After College, What Do I Do Now? And I really want students to have the full capabilities of the institutions around FAU to make sure that we're giving students, graduating students, the opportunities to learn more. I know the career fair, the career center hosts career fairs for almost every major, and I think that's absolutely amazing. And yeah.
Great. All right, candidate Abdel, if you want to answer a question.
Sure. So I know for graduate students, a lot of times, either they're coming, like they go directly from their bachelor's degree to grad school, or sometimes they go work and come back. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot harder to go work and come back, especially if you have to take a pay cut. And then I remember I was in, I think the general sciences building. I went to the bathroom one time and there was a flyer about graduate students complaining about their credit hours and about their pay or whatever is SI or TAs. So one thing I want to do, not only for like their financial situation, but I also want to help them know the resources available to them. Because I know a lot of times, like if you want to go into college, you have millions of resources available. For graduate students, it's very limited. You have to really dig in and do your own research to find out what needs to go on. So what I want to do is I want to make that information more accessible to all graduate students. And yeah.
All right, we have one question right here. I know I'm making you guys answer a lot of questions, but these are your constituents, so you know you gotta have to deal with it. Please state your name.
So my name is Isaiah Moriarty. My question to all the candidates, and I'd like everyone to answer, please, if you will, is as part of Regulation 4.006 at the university, the president and vice president are unable to hold any other jobs, positions, or elected leaderships within other student organizations on or off campus. Are you willing to give up your various memberships, or not memberships, but various positions that you've all mentioned throughout this debate to serve in this role?
Great. It's a question about commitment. Who wants to answer that one?
You want all of us?
Yeah.
We just go down the line.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. McDonald.
So yes, that's very true. I had to learn that. So I was on the executive board for my fraternity, and I had to resign once I got elected as student body vice president. So I currently don't hold any executive board positions, but yeah, no, that's definitely an important point. Is that students have to you have to focus on the student body, so you can hold executive board positions because it serves as a conflict of interest. But I currently do not hold any executive board positions.
Madam Levine.
Of course, it's going to be hard giving up my positions in the organizations that I'm in, but I will 100% commit to this job in this organization as your next student government president. Absolutely 100%, and I believe in my organizations enough to know that they will be okay and they will still be successful without her leadership.
Candidate Abdel?
So I honestly didn't know about that statue until you just mentioned it, and I have no problem with it at all because, like, when I became president, it was just dropped on me, and I had no guidance whatsoever. But thankfully now we set up, like as an organization, we set up an actual system. We have officers, we have everything. Like Ryan right here, he's our vice president, and I feel like if I give him leadership of the club, he'll make it much better than I ever did. So I'm not worried at all.
Again, same thing goes for me. I didn't know I'm currently the treasurer of the soccer club, but we can find another position. We have a few more officers who are willing and able to take my position if I did make the vice presidency. Thank you.
Great. Any more questions before we enter the final round? None? All right. So now we're going to move into closing statements. So in this case, what we're going to do is each candidate will have 3 minutes. And first I want to start off with the vice presidents, and I want to close with the presidents, all right? Like I said, 3 minutes, no rebuttals, and please express what you feel. We're going to start with Christopher Acosta. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Again, thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for spending the time of your day to come and watch this and see this presidential debate. And also thank you, guys, again, for being here. And then, like I said, me and Abdel, we're willing to do whatever it takes to make FAU look a little bit better in the student government area, to continue the job that's already been done, and we just wish the best for everyone.
All right, Candidate McDonald, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, so I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity to be up here. But I'm really just hoping to be able to continue on what I've worked on in the past and continue to build on what we've built so far. I think there's a lot of opportunities. Like I know me and Emily are working on some initiatives that will be continued into the next year, and I'm really hoping that we'll be able to continue those. So I really love serving the students, and I really hope to be able to do that in the future. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone thinks of any later or ever wants to talk to me. You're more than welcome to. But thank you guys for your time.
Candidate Abdel.
Thank you again all for coming here. I know, like I probably last year I would have come out, but just as an audience member. But like I said before, my main thing is I just want to make your voices heard. Whatever concerns you have, you can come to me or you can come to Chris, and we'll make sure your concerns are dealt with. And also, yeah, that's it.
All right, Candidate LeBay, you have 3 minutes.
First off, I want to say thank you for everyone being here tonight in support of student government. I am sitting before you all, hoping to be your next student government president. In doing so, I can make a promise to each and every one of you. I promise I will do my absolute best in order to listen and represent the needs of this university. To the best of my ability and with your help, I see a brighter future for our campuses, and I plan to make that happen. By making FAU a more diversified and open campus, by bridging gaps between the organizations, Greek life, athletics, and non-affiliated students, by increasing transparency among campuses, in order to make one FAU. Lastly, we really want to increase the overall experience that FAU students hold. I have a dream for FAU, and it only can be made possible by you all. Thank you so much for your time, and go Owls.
All right, great. All right, so first, before we finish, I want to call the election commission up front. Please, where's Doug? Nick, everyone, please. It's been 4 debates that these people have been organizing, and I want you guys to give them a grand round of applause. Diane as well, I was looking for you, They have done a great job. The turnout has been incredible, and I think they're the champs of these events. Thank you again, appreciate it. I want to acknowledge all the students that have been coming to the debates. Jabari May, Denisha Smith, Chief Justice Isaiah Moriarty, our advisor Allison, our advisor Donald. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. And remember, right here you have the future of SG in front of you. So I would highly encourage you to vote this 27th and 28th elections, 2 days, a Tuesday and a Wednesday. And the 29th, we will know who will be commanding our university. Thank you so very much. Have a great day. Owl Central, remember, vote Owl Central. And right, close remarks?
I was just saying, just make sure you come out and vote on the 27th and 28th. FAU.edu/get involved. Thank you all for coming.
The president's not here.